Back here with the LS Hillbilly teardown. First, what you need to do is get you some non-rusty valves. Fortunately for me, I tear a bunch of these down, so I had just Bago small valve LS valves. Now, the way I do it isn't necessarily the right way, but it works well for me. Take that what you will. You do it however you want, or think I'm stupid for doing it this way. But this is how I do it. So here's a drill, and then there's valve stems. So I will show you how I hook this all up and get it working. So this is basically the setup. Just imagine that that is filled with cylinder head. So here's your valve face, and that's what I'll be doing to the back side of the valves. Now, one thing on this, guys, don't have your drill set on kill, because if this spins on the end, it will hurt a valve. So I turn mine down very low, and so if it does wanna, it'll stop the drill before the end of it spins. Just set up. Shaky. Go ahead and shut that door. Might be able to see a little better that way. Yeah. Just go to O'Reilly's and grab some valve grinding compound. It says metal grinding compound, but I use it for valves. You have a coarse and then a fine. Get this thing open. So, of course, I will run the coarse. Of course, I'll run the coarse. Anyway. I'll run the coarse first. Pop all these out. Make sure these have some sort of lube on it, whether it's assembly grease or whatever. It doesn't matter. Not to me anyway. Pull this up. And I'll just do a few little dabs all the way around it. I'll pull it off and see if it's making a nice gray ring around it. I don't know if you can kind of see that there or not. Anyway, it's kind of hard to tell, but there we go. I'm gonna focus. So check and make sure it has a nice gray ring, even pattern all the way around it. And then clean your seat face off and do the same. Just do that for every single valve down, and then you'll come back with the fine cutting compound and do the same thing all the way back down again. Another thing I like to do is put a little grease all the way around the valve face, especially on something where I don't know how long it's going to be before it gets used, just to kind of help keep rust and corrosion at bay, where any bare metals may be exposed to some sort of moisture. So just kind of like that. Pop. There we go. Now some gasket kits will come with two different colors of valve stem gaskets. So the brown goes on the exhaust side. The green goes on the intake side. Something important to remember. These are all the valve stem seals in place. Getting ready for me to install them. If you look on the end of each valve, there's a little bit of grease. That helps them slide on there and not tear the seal as it's going down. What you want to do is get you a pretty big socket. This one here happens to be 24 millimeter. Something that'll fit all the way over and grab the little cone on the end. You want to smack the back of it with a hammer. Like I said earlier, these are just stock valve springs going back on the head, stock retainers from just various different engines that I've tore down. They're all in good shape, minus some of them are colored a little, different because they're different mileages, different types of oil changes, that kind of thing. They're still in good shape. He's not going to turn this thing to a bajillion RPMs, and it's got a stock cam in it, so it should live the life of the engine just fine. Okay, to install the valve springs and the keepers, it's just a reverse process of how I showed you to pull them out. Other than the keepers can be kind of tricky when you go to put them back in, so I'll kind of show you how I do it, and you can just do it how you need to make it work, but this seems to work pretty well for me. I will almost bottom out the valve springs into coil bind and get them as far down as I can and get the stem up as high as I can, and then put the keepers on it and then start backing it off, and they'll kind of self-align and pull themselves up. So run up a couple keepers, or actually I'll run it down first. You also kind of want to make sure the retainers are lining up with the valves, so you're not pushing them down. If you have them, I have a piece of cardboard underneath it as a soft surface, but even still, if you continue to drive it down in there, it can mess up the end of the valve where the keepers go if the retainer hits it, or you just don't want your valve generally smacking into anything hard. So keep them lined up with my fingers if one's kind of wanting to be tricky. Once it starts to go in there, back it off. Losing my touch, I guess. Once you get that all done, I'll just take a hammer and whack on the top of the valve, make sure the keeper's seated. And I'll take and just drop a little drop of grease on each of the valve stem tips. So whenever I'm ready to install them, the rocker arm tip isn't on something dry because it hasn't got oil pressure yet.